So, rough night again. Cowboys 33, Raiders 16. In the first 10 games of the 2025 season, the Raiders are embarrassed 5 times with a high score difference. First Chargers, then Commanders, Colts, Chiefs, and now the Cowboys. This should tell the whole story of the Raiders roster, coaching staff, and management. And I don't know how many times more we have to go through this. You know, before we even kicked off, I knew something was wrong. I'm scrolling through the inactives list, and I see Caleb Rogers isn't just not starting, he's completely inactive. A third-round pick, sitting at home basically while we're out here getting dominated in the trenches, and that tells me one of 3 things is happening with this organization. Caleb Rogers is not ready to play either, which means our coaching staff hasn't developed him properly, or he's not good enough, which means we have a massive scouting problem, or Pete Carroll simply isn't interested in playing young players, which is becoming more and more obvious as the season goes on. Maybe it's all 3, but whatever the reason, it's a travesty. We're talking about a third-round pick who should be contributing to this team right now, especially when you see what happened tonight. Anyhow, this was one issue among many others, and I am here to walk you through. What's up, Raiders Nation? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Raiders. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about breaking down everything you need to know about the Raiders. Okay, let's start with the running game. The Cowboys rushed the ball 31 times for 114 yards. That's 3.7 yards per carry. Nothing spectacular, but they established the run game. They controlled the clock with 33 minutes and 36 seconds of possession compared to our 26 minutes and 24 seconds. They kept our defense on the field and wore them down. Meanwhile, we rushed the ball 12 times. 12 for 27 yards. That's 2.3 yards per carry. Ashton Jeanty, our first-round pick, got 6 carries for 11 yards. 6 carries. We spent a top 10 pick on a running back and gave him the ball 6 times in an entire football game. Geno threw the ball at him 8 times, more than what is actually his core job. How does that make any sense? And this is against the team that allowed 131 rushing yards per game till now. And before anyone says we were playing from behind so we had to throw, let me stop you right there. In the first half alone, we only rushed the ball 4 times. 4 times before we were even really behind in this game. That's not being forced into a passing game plan because of the score. That's Chip Kelly refusing to run the football from the jump. We had 13 offensive plays in the first quarter and rushed the ball exactly 1 time. 1 time! And then Chip Kelly is going to stand at that podium after the game and tell us, well, we didn't have the opportunity to run the ball. Man, what are you talking about? You had every opportunity. You just chose not to take it. Look at what this imbalance did to our offense. Geno Smith attempted 42 passes and completed 27 for 238 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. His passer rating was 77.3. Dak Prescott attempted 37 passes, completed 26 for 268 yards and 4 touchdowns with a passer rating of 138.6. But here's the key difference. Dak had a running game supporting him. We gave Geno Smith no help whatsoever. We asked him to drop back 42 times behind an offensive line that gave up 4 sacks for 29 yards, and we're surprised when things went poorly? Quinnen Williams absolutely destroyed us tonight. 1.5 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, and a tackle for loss. He was in our backfield all night long. And you want to know Chip Kelly's game plan for dealing with Quinnen Williams? Leave him one-on-one with Will Putnam and Jordan Meredith. That's it. That's the plan. Single blocking one of the most disruptive defensive tackles in the league with our backup center and a guard who weighs 290 pounds and frankly isn't good enough to be starting on this team. There was a play in the first half where Putnam completely botched his assignment. He chipped the blitzer, passed him off to Ashton Jeanty, and then just stood there. He didn't block anybody. When you pass off a blitzer to the running back, you stay with that block until someone else shows up. You don't just chip him and walk away. That's fundamental offensive line play, and we're not executing it. And this is the guy starting at center while Caleb Rogers, a third-round pick who played center at a high level in college, is sitting inactive. Does it make sense to you? I don't think so. The Cowboys totaled 381 yards of offense compared to our 236. They had 24 first downs. We had 17. They were 40% on third down. We were 25%. They controlled every aspect of this football game because they did something very simple. They ran the ball to set up the pass, and they protected their quarterback. We did neither of those things. And here's what really frustrates me about this loss. Our defense actually started the game playing pretty well. We forced a fumble in the first quarter. Tonka Hemingway recovered it, giving our offense the ball at the Dallas 15-yard line. Prime scoring opportunity, red zone. And what did we do with it? We got sacked, threw 2 incompletions, and kicked a field goal. Field goals don't win football games, bro.
Let's talk about defense for a minute. Maxx Crosby is out there doing everything he can. He had 3 tackles, 5 combined tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits, and a forced fumble. The man is literally trying to will this team to victory by himself, but he's getting double-teamed, triple-teamed, and nobody else on that defensive line can win their one-on-one matchups consistently. The Cowboys put Jake Ferguson, their tight end, on Maxx to chip him and help in pass protection. They're scheming specifically to neutralize our best player, and nobody else is stepping up to make them pay for it. But on the other side, Dak Prescott was comfortable in the pocket all night because we couldn't generate pressure. We had 1 sack in the entire game. 1. Dallas had 4 sacks on us. But the major problem with the defense was lack of coverage from our secondaries. Have you checked how easily their receivers separate themselves and made good catching opportunities? George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb combined 18 targets with 14 receptions, and their covered yards, 210. This stat alone is telling you how poor the secondary defense was. Now, let's talk about some of the arguments I've been hearing on social media. People are saying we should tank, we should lose out, we should try to get a better draft pick. And I get the frustration. I really do. But tanking is not the answer. Losing on purpose destroys your culture. It destroys your locker room. It tells guys like Maxx Crosby and Brock Bowers, who are out there giving everything they have, that their effort doesn't matter. You think Maxx Crosby is going to be okay with us tanking? You think Brock Bowers is going to stick around if this organization decides to quit on the season? No chance. They'll ask out, and I wouldn't blame them. Losing games because you're not good enough is one thing. That happens. We're clearly not a playoff team this year, but intentionally trying to lose is something completely different. It's disrespectful to the players, to the coaches who are trying to win, and to the fans who show up and support this team. Yes, we're going to lose a lot of games this year. We might win 4 games, maybe 5. But we can't go out there trying to lose. We have to develop our young players. We have to build something for the future. And you can't do that if you're telling everyone in that building that winning doesn't matter. The other argument I've been hearing is that we should fire Pete Carroll and move on. And look, I'm not here to defend Pete Carroll. I have plenty of issues with how he's coached this team. But firing him mid-season doesn't solve anything. It makes things worse. Every time we fired a head coach early, we've gotten worse. We did it with Jack Del Rio. We did it with John Gruden. We did it with other coaches before them. And every single time, the next coach has been worse than the last. We need consistency. We need to build something that lasts more than 1 or 2 seasons. People had up and down feelings about John Gruden, and I get it. He made mistakes. But at least we had consistency with Gruden. At least we were building something year over year. We got better under Gruden because there was a plan, there was development, and there was continuity. I'm not saying Pete Carroll's the long-term answer. I'm saying that if we're going to move on from him, we do it at the end of the season and we hire someone who's actually a good head coach. Not just someone who's slightly better than Pete. We need to get it right. We need to hire someone who can develop players, manage a game, call plays effectively, and build a winning culture. The only problem with Pete Carroll is he is not accepting that his is a rebuild year. To be very honest, I think Geno will perform better if we give him better protection. We're not going to be good next season. We're probably not going to be good the season after that. We have massive holes on the offensive line. We have no pass rush outside of Maxx Crosby. Our secondary is inconsistent. We have no identity on offense. Chip Kelly doesn't know if he wants to run the ball or throw it 50 times a game. We're stuck in this middle ground where we're not bad enough to completely tear it down, but we're not good enough to compete. And that's the worst place to be in the NFL. Right now, our season is over, so it's time to experiment with different things. If things are not working for Geno, we have Kenny Pickett on this roster. We traded a 5th-round pick for him before the season, and he's barely seen the field. What was the point of that trade if we're not going to use him? At least get him some reps. At least evaluate whether he's part of the future. Sitting him on the bench while Geno throws 42 times in a blowout loss doesn't make any sense.